Hey, welcome. If you're new to the channel, let me give you a quick rundown of what I've been building here. So this started as a 2007 Honda CBR 125. I've fitted the forks and triple clamps from a KTM RC390. The engine is from a 2008 Honda CRF 450. The wheels are from Kawasaki 300 Ninja. Shock is from a Yamaha R6 and the swing arm is from a KTM 250F dirt bike. Now obviously the frames had to be pretty extensively modified to make everything work. If you're interested in anything I've done so far, all those videos are on my channel. But today we're going to be making a custom aluminium subframe for it. So I don't really have a plan on how I'm going to do this. I've never made a subframe before, but I've just gone and bought some square aluminium tubing and I'm basically just going to wing it and just start fabricating and let it develop on its own and see what we end up with. So first thing I'm going to do is make some steel tabs that weld to the frame that the subframe will then bolt to, and then I can get on to actually constructing the subframe itself. Okay, so this is my prototype tab. I've made two of these. So these are out of 10mm thick mild steel, which is really thick. You might be wondering why I would make them so thick, and you'll see why soon enough. So I've made two of these, obviously one for each side. I'm now going to have to make these again out of aluminium, also 10mm, which the subframe itself is going to be welded to. So then the aluminium tab will bolt to the steel tab because this will be welded to the frame. And basically the reason why I did make it so thick is so when you've got a 10mm aluminium tab as well, which is the same, and it bolts up, it's going to be flush with the frame here. And then that also means that I can drill these tabs and tap them so that I don't need to run a nut on the back. I can just have one bolt run through, which will be countersunk into the aluminium one. So it's just going to be flush. It'll just look a lot nicer. And yeah, and like I say, it saves the need for having to put a bolt on the back. And the other reason is because on the other side here, I actually have to do it that way because the shock is going to have a very small amount of clearance between that and the tab. So there probably wouldn't be room to run a nut on the back anyway. So that's why I've chosen to do this out of 10mm, so when I drill it and tap it, there's going to be enough thread there to support it, as well as it'll look good. So it's a bit hard to explain at the moment of what I've got, sort of what I'm thinking anyway. My brain works in weird ways, but I think it will start to make more sense as you see me progress. So I'm going to go ahead now and cut some more of these out of some aluminium, and then I'll drill these tabs so I can get these tacked onto the frame. And then we'll start looking at tacking some of the subframe tubing to the aluminium plate. And then it should start to make sense. You should start to see what my plan is there. I've cut the aluminium ones now. So this is basically just a replica of this steel one. It's going to lay on top of it like that, or will be like that when it's on the bike. Then we've got this piece of square tube here, which is going to be the subframe tubing. That is going to be notched into the aluminium like that, and then we'll come off the mount. So here's one I've prepared earlier. So this is the original mount. So this is just tacked to the frame at the moment. This notch will make sense in a second. So you can see that's drilled and threaded, and then over here what we have is where I've notched that other piece of aluminium. That'd be there. And I've just tack welded the tube to it. So basically slots together like that. So just rough tacks on it at the moment just to hold it. But what I'll do, I'll just put the camera down for a second so I can put a bolt in this, and then I can explain a little bit further what's happening with it. Bolted in place. So you can probably sort of see what I'm thinking now. It will probably make a bit more sense. So with these two pieces notched, this is going to be fully welded into this front piece and then lineaged down flat, and then so when it's bolted up, it's going to be flush with the frame here. So this bolt is going to go once I've finished welding it and made sure that it's how I want it. I've got a countersunk sort of bolt here which is going to go in, so I'll countersink this hole so that the countersunk Allen screw will go in and will be flush with the aluminium there on the subframe. This is going to all look like one piece, and then it's just going to bolt to this piece of metal, or this metal tab, which is welded to the frame. So if we come around the other side, this is why I made it out of 10mm, so I could drill and tap this plate here. So when I do run a bolt through, it will just sit flush with the back side of it there.
I drove away so slowly, so much space in the car. I lay awake, I'm holy, slightly afraid of the dark. I heard a noise, I know I did. Someone's inside of the house. Did I lock the door? I hope I did. Find my body, bury me under the ground. I wanna burn, I don't deserve flowers and words. You'll never bury me under the ground. I wanna burn, I don't deserve flowers and words. You'll never bury me under the ground. Inside of reality, I used to count on myself for stability.
Alright, so these are the two upper bars of the subframe. I've just sort of roughed them in. They still need a bit of work. It's my first time really working with aluminium actually, and besides my welding still needing a lot of work, I kind of like it. It's good because you can just shape it by hand with files. You don't necessarily have to do everything with grinders, which is good because yeah, I prefer to work with files. So it's kind of like shaping body filler really. It was softer than I thought it would be. Anyway, that's irrelevant for now. So yeah, I still need a bit of practice welding and stuff like that with it, but I'm confident enough that the welds are going to be strong enough. And hell, they're just not that pretty. So again, that doesn't matter because my whole plan with this was to lineage everything back smooth and make these all blended in one piece. So anyway, now that I've got these two uppers roughed in, I've got this centerpiece here which I'm going to now just tack into the middle of it. Give you an idea, so just like that I guess. And then I can get it in position on the bike and play around with seating angles to sort of start sitting on it and getting an idea of the angle that these top bars need to be before I start making the lower sections. So it's all coming together kind of as planned. I mean, I don't really have a plan, I'm just kind of making it up as I go along, but I've got a bit of an idea in my head that I'm following, and it seems to be like it's going to work. So I'll get this centerpiece tacked in so that we can then get it bolted up onto the bike and get a bit of an idea of what it's going to look like and what changes I need to make, if any, before I can start making the diagonal pieces that run, I don't know, you know what I mean, the lower pieces like that. So get that tacked in and we'll have a look. Okay, you got to excuse the background noise because it's pissing with rain and I've been waiting for it to stop so I can film this, but it doesn't seem like it's going to, and I want to pack up and go inside. So subframe top section anyway is now tacked together and temporarily bolted on. So I'll swing the phone around and I'll give you a better idea of where we're at. So bear in mind this is all just very temporary because I'm sort of sussing this out as I go, but we're getting a bit of an idea of how it's going to look. So just tack this piece in the middle here just to hold it in place. I'm not sure if I'm going to leave that brace there. I may move it, put another one in, not sure yet, doesn't matter. But this will give you an idea of how it's going to mount. So I've got the steel piece here tacked to the frame. Hang on, let me come around and show a bit better there. So I've dropped it a little bit lower than it was originally when I had it tacked there, just because I felt it was on a little bit too much of an angle. Then this piece here, this steel on this side, I need to remake because it turns out I'm not very good at measuring, and this hole is a millimeter too low. You can see that step there, and that's not going to work because I want this flush across the top. So I'm going to remake that steel piece so this piece isn't welded to the frame, that's just sitting there. We've got a bolt in it here. As I said earlier, this is going to be replaced with a countersunk bolt. But so far, I'm pretty happy with how it's coming along. I think that's going to work. It's not going to be this long. It'll be chopped quite a bit shorter than that. I'll probably chop it around about where this brace is, because we're going to have the angled piece run down here. So this angled piece, I want to try and make it follow this line here, which is also the line of this cross member here. So from the side, they're all going to sort of be the same. But even though it's going to have fairings on it and you're not going to see a lot of it, I still want to try and match angles, because when I make the fairings, it'll be easier when I mount them if the angles are all the same anyway, and it's obviously going to look a lot better. So happy to keep moving forward for this now. I'm going to remake this bit first so I can get this welded to the frame. A bit annoying, but oh, you get that. And then we're going to start having a look at these lower triangulated pieces, which haven't entirely decided how I'm going to mount them to the frame, but most likely it will be the same as the top, with a steel piece on the inside here, and then the aluminium piece there with a countersunk screw again, so that it's all flush and looks all neat and tidy. So I'll keep moving forward now, and we'll get that other steel piece made, and then I'm going to start cutting some more square tube, and we'll play around with some angles for this bracing here. So my horizontal bandsaw is out of action at the moment. I need to get a new blade for that. So I've got to sort of face up this tube that I've just cut with an angle grinder. I know you're probably not supposed to put square tube into a round tube chuck in a lathe to face it up, but it seems to be working. So yeah, we'll get these squared up, and then we can put some bends in them and start getting it sitting in place on the bike where I need it to be. So now I've got these pieces cut sort of roughly to length. I've got to look at putting a bend into them so that I can keep that angle at the bottom, because as you see, if I match that angle with that lip in the frame, it's going to be way too long. So roughly where the Sharpie mark is there, I'm going to put an upsweeping bend so that it'll meet this tube, sort of roughly where that cross brace is tacked in there. But to do that, obviously I need a tubing bender. Now I don't really have a proper bender for it, but I've got this one here that I bought years ago. I've hardly used it. It's just a cheapie. It's more designed for round tubes, so I don't have the correct size dies for this 20mm square tube. So I've got like a 7/8 round main die here, and then the guide sort of die is I don't even know what size that is. That's the biggest one I found in there anyway. It's the only one that will fit this tube, so that doesn't fit properly. This picks up the corners of the tube, but we've got this big hole in the middle here, and then this piece here which sort of locks it in place. Again, I didn't have one the right size, so this is way too big, and I've just sort of locked it over, pressing against the tube. So I have no idea if this is going to work or what it's going to do to the tube, but this could be funny. So let's have a shot at it and just see what happens, I guess. Fucking work. Just done the initial trim and it's looking pretty good. Seems to fit pretty well. So you can see here, I'll come around the other side so you can see from the back. Nice and narrow. And there we are there. Just sitting proud at the moment, or sitting down a little bit at the moment because it's resting on the tack there from that cross member. So obviously that'll get ground flat and then it'll press up nice and snug against that top rail. Same as down here against the frame. So obviously This section here is going to be replaced with a piece like this out of the 10mm alloy plate so that it can bolt to the frame. I'll do the same style of mounting for the top and bottom section. But the shape I'm pretty happy with. You've just got to imagine that these are going to be trimmed back pretty much where the cross member is there. So it's nice and small, which is what I wanted. I mean, maybe it might not be enough triangulation to be strong enough. I think it will be. I might just design this lower piece to sort of come down a fair way so that it's got a bit more strength in it. It's just, I mean, like everything with this bike, it's just trial and error. I've got nothing else to go off of whether it's going to work or not. So I'm kind of just going off what I think looks right. So anyway, I'm happy with this at the moment to keep going. So I'm going to go and cut the other side and then do the final trim on these and then get it tacked onto this top section. And then once that's all tacked in place, I can look at making these lower mounts, which there's going to be a bit of work in these. So these are going to need to be pretty strong, and then they're also going to have like an angle in them there, because as you can see, it's where the frame kicks out, so I'm going to have to make the mount match that. So not really sure how I'm going to do that, but we'll just figure it out as we go. I just got done welding up the subframe. I was going to just tack it, but I decided just to fully weld it as I had it on the bench. And I thought it's not really going to matter whether it's tacked or not. I knew that everything was the right size. So I've got it on the bike now, so I'll spin it around and show you it. Here it is, all welded. So fitment's good, I'm pretty happy with that. Nice gap there. Obviously this is going to be replaced with the bracket that's going to sort of come down to somewhere around there. That's what I've got to design next. So like I said, I went and I fully welded it, but I've linished the outside faces. I'm not really sure if that's a good idea with alloy. I know that it does crack pretty easily if you grind the welds back on it. So I've left the inside welds proud. This part here where it's sort of blended that curve, I actually lay 3 separate passes across that so that I could, on top of the original pass, sorry, so 4 passes in total, so that I could blend that without really grinding into the bit that's penetrated and is doing the strength work. But look, I don't know, it might crack in the future, hopefully it won't, but it's something I'm going to keep an eye out for, like while I'm test riding it before it gets pulled apart for paint. So just before I make the lower mounts, it's a good opportunity to show you how the top mounts are done. So I just remade this one. This was the one where the hole was a little bit out of line before, but I've slightly changed the shape on them. But now that I've got the shock pulled back, I can show a bit better how the subframe fits. So it's a pretty snug fit, but it's just basically that's it there. So obviously not bolted in, but you get the idea. So when it's got a bolt in it, that's nice and flush. You've just got a little gap there, which is going to be needed for paint. But yeah, that's how she fits. We're nearly there, almost finished. So I've cut these back and capped the ends. Lower sections are fully welded now, inside and out, and blended. As you can see, these are on a bit of an angle away from the square tube, so that meant there was a huge gap in there that I could fill with weld. So I've still been able to sort of lineage this section here, blend it in, without having to worry about it losing too much strength, because I know that there's a heap of weld still inside there. So that should be strong enough. I still need to take this off and do a bit of final detailing work with some files and sandpaper, but for the most part, this subframe itself is pretty much done. So now all I've got left to do is the lower mounts. So I've made these earlier, real basic, again 10mm steel, drilled and tapped. So essentially these are going to weld obviously on the inside, not the outside like this, but inside of the frame, and then the subframe will bolt to that. So just got to remove this primer off the frame here now and get these tacked in place, make sure that they're going to work. And if that's all good, I'll just go ahead and burn these in, do the finish welding on the top section here, and then we can pretty much call it done. So let's see if this is going to work. Lower mounts are complete now, all welded to the frame and lineaged flush on the outside here so that the subframe can press up against the rest of the frame there. Because these are on an angle outwards, it left a bit of a gap in there which I could then fill with MIG weld, so I was comfortable with lineaging these smooth because I know there's still plenty of weld in there holding them on. So lowers are done, the uppers are now fully welded as well. Same deal on here, I had to flush these because that's where the subframe goes against, but the inside welds I've just sort of run the flat disc over that just to smooth it out a bit, but the majority of the weld is still there, so that should be plenty strong enough. And then see if I can do this one-handed, should be able to. Subframe just slots on like that. So yeah, we're pretty much done here now. So I'm going to go ahead now, take this subframe off and give it a final detail. Got to countersink these holes so I can use the countersink bolts. Put some primer back on the frame where I took the paint off to weld, and then we can call the subframe done. So I'll come back and show you what it looks like once it's all finished, bolted up and detailed.